Welcome to the shop. Over the years, I have done many repair videos on foam planes. Every wrecked airplane poses different problems that need to be solved. And this one is no different. In this video, I'm going to go through and show all the techniques of repairing, increasing the structure with carbon fiber. How do I go through that process? Rebuilding pieces like struts that break, getting certain parts, 3D parts, to fix this. I'm going to go through some of those details in this video. Also, all the tools, all the links of products I'm using, the adhesives, and so on and so forth, I'll have a link in the description below. If you have any questions at all about these rebuilds, please leave me a comment. I appreciate it. Also, if you like this kind of video, hit that like button. It helps the channel out quite a bit. Thanks a lot. Stick around. A friend of mine sent me pictures of this. Said he had a bit of an incident the other day at the field.
Really do.
And it's like, holy moly, yes, you did have an incident. And it's pretty bad shape. So busted the wing, some of the electrical parts. This should be soldered, or there's a wire that goes up through here. Here it is, the tag. It's all ripped up. That has to get fixed. Tail section snapped off. He must have really cartwheeled this thing or something. I don't know how all of this happened, but it happened. I wish I had a video of it. That would make this video much more entertaining. Snap the prop, but the nose isn't smashed in, so he didn't pile it in straight off. I guess he kind of came in from the side and did a fun little cartwheel. And landing gear, looks like he definitely smashed on the landing gear. Looks like that took a heck of a lot of the force. Some pieces are busted, which we'll have to figure out how we're going to repair them. This is a part that goes onto the wing. It's a wing strut, slides in and has a little piece there, like this one. So I know we can, there's 3D printing of these parts here. Might have to go through that process. Anyway, just thought I'd share with you this project, and I'll take you along the ride of how I go through and rebuild a plane that possibly appears to just be a total loss, but it's not. We're going to fix this and take care of my buddy Dave. So stick around. The first thing I do is just remove all the parts and just kind of break them into pieces. By doing that, then I can just prioritize and just move along methodically. Instead of looking at the whole, I fix individual parts and then reassemble. Let me show you the teardown. Obviously the prop's busted, so that's got to go. So I'll take off the spinner, remove the prop, and then put the pieces back together, because eventually I'm gonna, just so I don't lose anything. Now I do have usually a little tray that I keep a lot of these loose screws in and such, but for the most part we'll start from here. Moving to the tail section, and here just trying to minimize damage. I did use a piece of little painter's tape to hold things together while I'm kind of handling it so it doesn't fall apart and damage more foam. The better the foam fits, the better it's going to look in finished product. So here, just going to remove, just uninstall all the pieces that were installed, screws, push rods, things like that. Now that all these parts are separated, I can get a much better look at what is the task at hand. How well are these parts going to fit together? But it just takes some gentle work on, like I said, dismantling to not damage anything further, not ruin any wires, so on and so forth. So here basically can now take it all apart and look at the main focus, which is what needs to be fixed. All right, now we have the main piece that needs to be repaired first. So just looking at how it fits, got some cables in the way, got some stickers in the way. I'm going to go through this first process and just how I'm going to glue it, how I'm going to clamp it, which is equally important, and then how I'm going to reinforce it. So this becomes basically trying to solve the problem of how to clamp this best. There's a number of ways. It's a good clean break, but we have to clamp it so it really binds well. Since I'm using E6000, it's not an instant glue up. This is a pretty strong structural piece. And so what I'm going to do is, you can't see, but I'm going to move the camera real quick here. I'm going to stand it up on its edge, like so, and let it stand like that. I'm going to pull on these servo wires and have them so they're taped or pulling down, which will give enough force to hold that in place while the E6000 cures. Big fan of E6000 and my little brush. So put on a light amount on the foam. I'm going to squeeze it on and then spread it with the brush. I don't put a lot on, and I try not to get too much on the edge because that will leave a scar. So I try to, when I brush it, kind of keep it away from the actual edge. So here's what I've done. Got it clamped. I'm pulling on those wires, and I got a bungee cord that's then connected to one of the wing screws. And I'm going to keep monitoring it. I'm going to keep it upright. And I'm actually show you what I'm going to do. Keep it like that and check on it periodically to make sure it's all going together properly. The challenge now that this is cured, E6000's done its job, very strong, probably stronger than the foam. However, I want to insert a carbon fiber spar. It's about, I don't know, 2 millimeters. About like that. But I want to try to do it in a way that you can't be seen. So what I'm thinking of doing is coming in from right here and drilling into this to about that far, coating it with foam tack and sliding it home. And I think, based on looking at the construction, if I stay right along here, I think we'll be able to get a good bond and not, we'll get into good foam and be able to just strengthen this on both sides. So that's what we're going to do. I've cut my carbon fiber rods to length, and now I got to drill in. So I'm going to sharpen a tip and just work it like a drill, if you will, and poke it through to make that hole. Take your time as you're doing this, because you don't want it to poke out the side, because then it's hard to make a second hole. I will then pull it out and make sure it's going as far as I want. If it's not, I'll shove it back in and go a little further. Once I'm happy with that, I'll do the other side, glue and insert. Let me show you how that's done. Prior to gluing, I do rough up the carbon fiber just so the glue adheres to it a little bit better. Clean it with a paper towel with a little alcohol. I'm going to use this multi-grip. It's made by Beacon, which is made by Foam Tack. It's a little more liquidy, I guess less viscous, I think, or did I have that backwards? Doesn't matter. So I just smear on a little bit and shove it in the hole and then seat it all the way in, with a hard, in this case just a utility knife, shove it all the way home so it doesn't interfere when I install the horizontal stabilizer. And we're done. Quick commercial break for SteffenRC. If you're not familiar with my channel, I really focus on helping new pilots get the most out of the hobby, whether it's setting up your radio, or setting up a plane, or learning how to land, or in different techniques. If you find this useful, please subscribe to the channel so you'll see all my latest videos. Thanks a lot. Here's the plan of attack for the wing. We've got some electrical stuff we'll have to work on here, but I don't think that'll be a problem. What I'm going to do is, we have a couple little pieces of carbon fiber that I had remnants, and they're kind of loose fitting, and that's okay. We're going to apply E6000 to all of this. Put these together. I've already made kind of holes for those pins on the other side. We're going to push this together and lay it flat. It needs to be kind of laid flat. And I'm going to have some weight on it, holding everything together. Making sure that it's all together and lined up properly. Just like the other part, we're just going to smear on a little E6000
Hit it with the brush, get nice and even. Make sure those dowels or those carbon fiber, I guess pins, dowels, whatever you want to call it, that they're covered in E6000, and hook everything together, put some weights on top, and that's pretty much, we're just going to wait for the glue to cure. Going to do a little soldering while the glue is curing. Going to raise my cool workbench. By the way, if you don't have one of these standing tables, they can go up and down. They're fantastic for a workbench. The wires were pretty darn thin, and it's not my finest soldering job, but it'll do, and those LEDs will work.
Alrighty, let this sit overnight. And we have a pretty straight wing. Pretty happy with that. A little give. Usually E6000, I give it 24 hours to fully harden up. But looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to take this carbon fiber strip. It's like a 0.5 millimeter by 5 millimeters. I'm going to cut slots and put that one there, and I think put one there, just to give it that extra goodness. And try to get this sticker back together, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll see. Anyway, let me take you along the ride on that. All right, so put it about like so. And I'm just going to get a straight edge to make a thin cut. And I take this and work it in there. Wouldn't push it all the way in, because I will say that if you shove that all the way in, if you know it's deep enough, just be happy about that, because if you shove it in all the way, it tends to get really stuck in there, I found. It doesn't want to come out. And so a little bit of a pointy dowel rod. It doesn't make it look as clean, but it solves the problem. All right, now we're going to do the same thing down here. And make sure fits down in there nice. Just get this little dowel rod just a little bit. Oh, get some glue in there.
Now we just apply a little glue. Use E6000. I kind of squeeze a little bit in that slot, not too much. Do that on both sides, then apply some to the carbon fiber strip that I've also prepped by sanding it and cleaning it off, and then pushing those strips into those slots. You don't need a lot of glue, but enough that it covers everything, and then clean everything up with a paper towel, and you are done. Now the wing's done. I'm going to fix those stickers. So it's basically my buddy put some tape on those stickers to keep them from ripping. So removing the tape, putting the stickers back on, and it actually doesn't look too bad. I'm going to hit the whole thing with some Blenderm just to keep everything clean.
Next we have the struts. And as you can see, the strut piece is supposed to look like this, broke off. So I pulled that. My friend John Anderson sells these 3D printed pieces for Rangers. Now, this ain't a Ranger, but it's made similarly. So similarly that the piece that he has fits on like so. Only problem, and it's not going to be a problem, is there's a difference in height. Length. So all I'm going to do is cut that, put in a new hole, and we're back in business. Thanks, John. Those of you who are interested in 3D products or replacement pieces for the Ranger, and all kinds of accessories. I'll have a link in John's Etsy page for all of this stuff. It's really fantastic stuff what he designs and prints.
Big fan of these X-Acto razor saws, if you will. They work really well. Make nice clean cuts. Drill a 1.8 millimeter hole where it belongs, and we're done. When you find a situation like this where there's a broken chunk of foam, don't know where it is, you make one, and basically you cut flat the part you're going to repair, find another piece of foam and glue it on. Once it cures, you shape it to fit with in this case just a very sharp razor. It works like a plain wood plane for making shavings, and then put it back together, and voila, you're done. It looks pretty good. Now it's time to assemble everything. Everything's prepared, so we'll screw it all back together and ready to go. The axle on the one wheel was pretty badly bent, so just by removing everything, using some pliers and straightening that axle, putting the screw back on, making sure the threads are good, and putting it back and assemble it, and we're done. Straight and rotates great. One last thing to repair, and that's the aileron hinge on that damaged wing. So by using some flexible adhesive, in this case that multi-grip, and then reinforcing that with Blenderm, and I'll show you how I go about doing that. Obviously applying the glue is pretty simple. You just put it in there, make sure you get enough glue in there, but not too much because you don't want everything sticking together. Then you take a strip of Blenderm and moving the control surface the opposite direction, placing the tape on, basically you got to get the tape into that hinge point. And I use that sharp dowel and shove it in there, then flip it over and do the same thing. I just needed a small strip. You don't need a whole lot. And then after that, you got a really solid hinge. After it's all said and done, the important part is, how does it fly? So brought it to the field with my buddy Dave so I could maiden it for him, got it up in the air, trimmed it out, required a little bit of elevator trim, but that's it, surprisingly. This Bigfoot, they're great planes. Then I went through, did a little bit of aerobatics just to test the wing, and all worked out great. Brought her in for a landing, handed the controls to Dave. Now it's back in his hangar. I went through a lot of different techniques, things that I use. There might be others out there, love to hear more about it, but these are things I do when repairing one of these planes. There's a lot of foam to foam, plastic to foam, carving things, and so on and so forth. Hope you got something out of it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.